Welcome, and good morning to all of us seeing us from Germany, but also, of course, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from to all of those seeing us and participating with us from abroad. So welcome, and for me, I can say it is a true pleasure to welcome you to this parallel session focused, as my colleague Richard Vargas said before, on intercultural competencies for young lecturers. And probably, as you might have read in our session description in the task cards, this session is especially designed for tutors and for young lecturers who are starting their teaching careers. But if you're neither one nor the other, okay, don't worry, okay, so please feel free to stay and to discuss with us, like I've said in the beginning, your topics, your experiences, your views on this theme for today. So intercultural competencies for young lecturers. Yes, I've mentioned us. So who are we? My name is, as you can see, Inês Gamelas, and I'm a lecturer at the Tutors qualification at the JLU. And I'm also part of the NIDIT project. I'm part of the international teaching training team, together with Richard Vargas and Dr. Annika Brück-Hübner. And I'm going to guide you on this session today, together with Eva Marie Weigand. Eva, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Eva Marie Weigand. I am a student assistant at the Tutors qualification, and I'm also working for the NIDIT project. And today I'm responsible for the technical support. So if you have any questions or if you want to comment something, you can just write it into the chat and I'm going to read it then.
Perfect. Thank you, Eva. The chat, and also you have seen it before, we have the task cards link. You can also interact with us via task cards. When it comes to the session itself, you can see it here. This is our agenda. We're going to start by sort of definition of intercultural competencies. So what are they? And also another very important question, why do I need them? Okay, this is the pragmatical side of our presentation. Furthermore, because it's important to focus on this part, we are going to present you some of the best practices and some of the most common best practices for improving your cross-cultural communicational skills. And then in the third part, like I said, I believe we have time for that. This is the point of our session. We are going to organize a short round table in which we are going to discuss 3 exemplary critical incidents, and you, I believe, and I hope, are going to present your solutions for these possible misunderstandings in when it comes to intercultural contact. Exactly. So when it comes to the goals of our sessions, we can see them here. The main aim is to discuss with you strategies for the improvement of intercultural communication and competencies, especially focused in higher education courses. I believe we all have somehow experience in this field, and also to analyze, of course, different approaches on how to deal with cultural diversity. And how are we going to do this? By exchanging your experiences and point of views on these specific critical incidents, which I'm going to present further. So when it comes to the first part, a little bit of theoretical contextualization, probably you know this, but these 2 scholars, Astrid Earle and Marion Gumnish, who wrote this book on intercultural skills, they mention that intercultural competence in itself integrates a whole spectrum of individual abilities and characteristics that enable a person to deal successfully with members of other cultures, or which at least prove to be conducive to interactions with members of other cultures. So they mention here a whole spectrum of individual abilities and characteristics, but the question is, what are specifically these individual abilities and characteristics? We can see them here, and they are basically sorted in 3 categories: the cognitive skills, the affective ones, and also, of course, the pragmatic and communicational skills. I'm going to brief you on specifically each one of them. The cognitive skills, and as you might have thought of, are focused on the cultural and theoretical knowledge. That is practically the information you have on how cultures work, on what are cultural differences and their implications, but also, don't forget, very important, on self-reflexivity. So the ability, to think critically about your own cultural standards. Okay, so this is practically the information you gather by reading and by collecting knowledge on culture and on other cultures, on your own culture and on other cultures. The affective skills refer to the interest and the openness to cultural differences. Okay, so it is advisable here, as we can see, to show empathy, and to show this ability to contact with others and to understand foreign people. Also, don't forget, it is very important by having and by showing humor, because this facilitates actually, in lots of cases, the cross-cultural dialogue. Okay. Furthermore, also don't forget, it is very important to show tolerance for ambiguity, because not everything is plain and simple. Okay, and therefore to be flexible when it comes to diversity issues. Okay. Perfect. When it comes to the pragmatic and communicational skills, well, they are very simple, and they are concerned with the correct use of suitable communicative patterns. Basically, what Astrid Earle and Marion Gumnish say is that you need to have an objective communication when you talk, especially with international students in your courses, and that you need to follow conflict resolution strategies. And here you can see some examples, and very simple examples. You can talk directly to them, okay? You need to show that you are interested in their perspective, so listen to the other's perspective. And please, it helps when you use a calm voice and you show an attitude that reduces stress and tension when you are talking to the group, okay? Because these are the most common ways to deal constructively exactly when possible misunderstandings or conflicts appear. Okay, exactly. So these are the skills I've mentioned, the different dimensions when it comes to intercultural competencies I've mentioned before. This set, so to say, of skills. And as we can see here, they are especially important. Why? Because when we are interacting with other speakers who are from a language and cultural background different from one's own, we need to be open, so to say. So we need to develop as much as possible these personal and professional characteristics we can see here, such as openness, empathy, flexibility, as I've mentioned before, but also patience or humor, very important, so that we can improve and feel more confident when it comes to the formation and maintenance of relationships, one way, but also that we can communicate objectively, that is, without disorientation, in another way, and that of course, we can aim at a cooperation between us and international participants, for instance, so that we can achieve mutual benefits. Okay, exactly. And yeah, speaking of mutual benefits, we have heard in the beginning, in the keynote keynote lecture from Ian Davis, that intercultural competencies, they are not a future skills. They are actually something which we live with currently, actually. Okay, so the question is, in this in this actual very global and heterogeneous academic context, where every one of us plays a role on the integration of intercultural students, we need to really intensify, so to say, our behavior in this way. Why? Because as we can see here, if we do that, these international students are going to cope better with the study requirements. So we are helping them having success in their academic career, and therefore they are less likely to drop out, because actually the dropout rates among international students are, some say, still very high. Okay, so for a successful internationalization, vivid interculturalism and an improvement of intercultural communication in the university daily life are, as we can see here, essential prerequisites. Exactly. But I'm sure if you wish, so to say, to be a competent lecturer when it comes to intercultural skills and cross-cultural communication, and you still do not feel confident on what exactly you can do, don't worry, because as you can see here, experts on the matter, Darla Deerdorf and Lily Smith, say that intercultural competence involves time and patience. No, okay, so it is basically a lifelong learning process, and this learning process happens over time. Okay, this is very important, because don't feel frustrated, so to say, if you still have questions, if you still have it's always an opportunity, a chance to improve. Okay, and how can we improve? According to exactly these two scholars, the best way is to look at best common practices which are already established and to follow them. Okay, and this is what we're going to do in our next step. So let's start with one of the first best practices when it comes to this improvement of cross-cultural communication skills. First one, so as we can see here, act beyond your act beyond your own cultural standards. Or in other words, maybe you know this diagram here, see beyond the tip of the iceberg. Okay, I believe you know this diagram. This diagram here was proposed by Edward T. Hall. He was an American anthropologist and cross-cultural researcher who in the 1970s presented this. And basically what he said is that we need to move and we need to see beyond the things which are easy to see, as we can see here. Yes, we need to move beyond language or the way someone dresses, and we need to focus and to look at, for instance, beliefs and assumptions, family values, gender roles, and so on. Of course, this is very difficult, but we need to make that effort, okay? And above all, he was also giving us these advices. We shouldn't judge the behavior of our participants, especially in intercultural courses, based on our own cultural standards, okay? And we all know that that is human, but we need to move beyond that. So that means we need to be as open-minded, or we need to try to be as open-minded as possible, okay? The second best practice focuses on the encouragement of intercultural communication. So what does that mean? Practically, you need to be open for cross-cultural dialogues, okay? And please do concentrate on intercultural understanding. What does that mean? For instance, when speaking to an international student, pay attention to his or to her emotional reactions and non-verbal signs as well, okay? Because as we all know, these non-verbal signs and these emotional reactions are equally important as the verbal message he or she is conveying, okay? So try to be a little bit more attentive, so to say, when it comes to this intercultural communication and intercultural understanding. Okay, I know that in virtual online courses that is a little bit difficult. You need to have the camera on and you need to be more intensive when it comes to the dialogue with your students, but it is possible if you have the correct attitude, so to say. Another best practice is, as we can see here, to value the personal story of your participants. Okay, so we all know that participants are unique and each participant is unique. Okay, so you need to allow your students to express themselves individually. Okay, you need to follow, as we can see here, or try to follow a student-centered approach when it comes to intercultural communication. Okay, and one of the best ways to do that is to prepare and include tasks or moments of reflection in your courses in which your students can tell their personal story, okay? And they can introduce themselves not only with their name and their country, but a little bit more than that, okay? And they can do that also in a group when, for instance, getting to know each other. Another best practice is this one here. So promote talks and moments of discussion about intercultural experiences, okay? Because this enhances the feeling of belonging, okay? You remember Ian David's words today. This is actually a very common strategy, and it needs to be implemented in courses with international students. So basically, you need to focus on institutional social diversity and social communication as well, so that you can be, so to say, a contact person between international students and the academic institution you represent, okay? So that situations such as isolation, solitude, and depression, which were very common, as we all know, during the pandemic time, can be avoided, so to say. And last but not least, try to deconstruct cultural stereotypes and generalizations in your courses, okay? We all know that stereotypes and generalizations are constructions and they mold our ways of seeing a certain country or culture, but they are constructions, okay? And they need to be discussed, they need to be reflected, they need to be confronted. So if possible, once again, try to organize moments of debate, roundtables, discussion forum, so that you can discuss these stereotypes and generalizations and increase the group feeling, okay? Because of course, as we all know, this helps on this belonging spirit, as we have mentioned before. So I hope everything is clear when it comes to the this presentation of the best practices and the theory when it comes exactly to the definition of intercultural competence. And I would say that our moment of discussion, our round table has arrived. And the question you are asking yourselves maybe is, how are we going to do that? So we are going to analyze, I'll show you briefly, some exemplary critical incidents. specifically 3 critical incidents, and we are going to reflect together on your views and solutions for each of them.